Okay, so we're gonna get started.
Okay.
Um,
Give me some inkling of what you want to talk about so I know roughly
we only
what to
want to talk.
expect.
Only want to talk about you.
Trust me,
So
we'll lead
Evan-
you.
we're gonna.
Okay, so are there any boundaries?
No,
Okay, good.
I don't think there's any boundaries.
no.
Okay.
Um, so
We'll just go like this.
No.
okay, just really quick. So I don't know if you know about us or looked us up at all.
I didn't really get a chance because I was in the studio pretty much the whole day. I'm a really busy voice actor, so I don't look up people. So I just come and just play it as it goes.
Mimi's produced 7 animated features. I have 2 Emmys for animation.
OMG.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have 2
Oh
Emmys
my
for
God,
animation
I'm
now.
talking to royalty.
Right, we're
You are
royalty.
legend.
I am.
We've teamed up.
I'm
We've
sorry,
teamed
you
up.
can't see me anymore because I'm traveling.
We've teamed up.
I am not worthy.
We do voice casting together and voice directing together, but Mimi does a ton
Okay.
of dubbing for Netflix. I do animated series for Netflix. We have a voice school. We've had it for almost 4 years, and I think by
Oh,
the time
wow.
we're done, you're going to be one of our teachers. And we literally
Oh,
have like 15 classes starting in the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
oh, wow.
We've been doing this. It'll be 4 years in this month.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Almost to the day.
Almost to
Oh
the
my
day.
God.
You're our
Oh,
anniversary special.
happy anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you, darling.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Ready?
The two of
Yeah,
you
yeah,
should-
let's do the.
we're gonna get started.
It's okay. They're used to me, so it's fine. All right. I'm going to let everybody in. Oh, you let everybody in?
Oh
I
my
did.
God.
I'm letting everybody in.
Oh, I know a few names.
There's gonna be more people coming in a moment.
Yes, they keep coming. They keep coming and coming.
Right.
Circulating.
Oh my goodness.
God.
Oh my
See
goodness.
you. It's been a long
Irada,
time.
how are you?
To see you. Hi, it's been a
Good to
while.
see you. It has been a while.
Nice
Oh
to
my
see you
God.
guys. There'll be more people joining, but we're gonna get started. We started like 2 minutes late just because we were having such a good time already with Stéphane that we.
Yeah. Basically, they were talking to me about you guys. So I've taken notes. I know what you like. I know what you don't like. I know everything about you.
Yes.
The
Yeah, I would say you know everything.
eye
now.
of Moscow is one thing.
I'm gonna make a few announcements before we get started.
Okay.
So we have never done this in the 4 years we've been interviewing people. This is the first time we've ever done this, and I'm going to explain why this is happening. Because when I met Stéphane at the Sovis Awards, he had just won the Body of Work Award, and he's done it 2 years in a row. I asked him for his card. He handed it to me and said, "Before you put it in your pocket, you have to smell it." And it smelled like chocolate.
Oh,
So we're doing a special for all of our classes till Sunday, and the password is chocolate.
No.
We have not announced this to anyone. I think the only person I told is Chris Bass. That's it. Even Mimi does not know.
I didn't know.
Yes. So if you like chocolate, you're never going to forget Stéphane. And if you like Stéphane, you're never going to forget chocolate. See, I just did your branding for you, Stéphane.
Oh my goodness me,
He's
thank
a
you.
genius.
You have to add that my branding is the voice like chocolate.
Yes.
So my website is the voice like chocolate.
Silky,
And,
like chocolate.
silky. And the card is brown with gold writing, which is actually gold because that's the only thing we could put on it. And it's got a bite taken out of it. And it smells of chocolate.
Oh,
So it is
that
memorable.
is genius.
It is memorable for the right reasons.
That's genius.
I wouldn't call myself a genius, of course, but some
I
people
can.
do.
I can. Legend.
Some people do.
You're a legend.
Mimi, so be careful not to talk over him because I want to make sure if we want to make this a podcast,
I'm sorry.
I'm just trying to be a good producer. Not that I don't love you and you can talk all you want. And you're already smoking a pen. So I only know what the hell we're doing. This is a very crazy thing. We've already started. Okay. So you guys know who we are. And if you don't know who we are, we're the Voice Masters, Mimi and myself. And we have been doing this for 4 years this month. So this is our anniversary. In January, we're going to have a big anniversary party and also a double birthday party for me and Mimi. So keep your eyes open and Friezo, get a new ticket to come back. to LA. Friso just left. He stayed at my house for the Sovas.
He has to come back again. He's just
Yes, right. Okay. So we're going to get started and we're going to be interviewing our lovely guest today. And I have to tell you, from the moment I met him, even before he won, because he got to be a presenter at Sovas, I was like, this guy has like personality to spare. And I did not know who he was, and nor did I know that he was going to get an award. And then afterwards I tracked him down and harassed him. So and I was like,
it was gentle harassment. It was not too heavy.
Gentle harassment. Wonderful. So thank you so much for being here today, Stéphane. Mimi and I so appreciate it. We always do this kind of like, how did you get started? And your list of your credits are numerous, and we're going to get into that in a minute. When we do our podcast, usually we do an intro and then we list. Will probably be 5 minutes of listing your credits, so it's going to be very long. But
Okay.
how did you get started in voice acting? Because you have such an illustrious career, and I can tell by your voice, I can see why you would. But how did this happen for you?
So I started theater very, very young. I was 14 when I started professionally on the stage, whilst sort of still studying, etc. And one day, I got overheard by a producer impersonating my grandmother. And I was doing that on the bus, and because I was very quickly the clown of the class. It was one way of being safe from bullies, was to become the clown, because nobody wants to beat up a clown, really. Well, not often anyway. And so this guy overheard me and then sort of stopped me and said, "Can you please give this card to your parents?" And in fact, it was to perform an 80-year-old woman in a literary magazine. So he'd heard me do my grandmother, and he thought, "Oh my God, that is exactly what we're looking for." And that was my first part. My first audio part really was to be an 18-year-old countess who basically doesn't like her son-in-law and is advising her daughter to divorce him and to send the children to Switzerland so she can find another husband, as one does. So it was very much a voice like this: "My darling, darling girl, you cannot possibly stay with this man." And so it was that kind of, that kind of slightly OTT, but at the same time fairly restrained performance, and that was my first foray into voice acting, and I absolutely loved it. It was basically what I wanted to do without the bother of the makeup and the costume. It was basically becoming characters and being whatever you wanted to do. And then studied in the States and went to Colby College in the States, then worked off-Broadway as an actor and did all sorts of various things. And then got myself to London, and I was very lucky to start and to be auditioned for the voice of the Cartoon Network. And I got the job. So for 8 years, I was the on-air voice of the Cartoon Network, the place for cartoons, which was just a joy, because I was able to be my zany self, really, really big and really sort of. And when I went to the audition, I knew so little about voiceover that I actually read the entire script, even the stuff that was written SB, soundbite, or SFX. And I could see the producers in the booth were pissing themselves with laughter, excuse my French. But I didn't know what I'd done wrong. So he said, "No. So now on this next pass, you're just going to do MVO," which I did. But I got the job. So obviously enthusiasm and paid off. And I was working with them for 8 years, as I said, and then they came to me with like tears in their eyes, and they said, "I'm so sorry. We need to rebrand, and we need to find somebody younger to do this, and we love what you've done so far. And I said, oh no. And they said, but, we want you to work on TCM, Turner Classic Movies. So I was the voice of TCM for 10 years after that. So
Now
yeah.
I know where I've heard you. That's
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Oh, it was, yeah, that was joyous as well, but it was far more moody. It was, and next. It was whereas on the Cartoon Network, I could really let rip. On TCM, you had to be very restrained, and they wanted a sort of transatlantic kind of feel to it. So that suited me really, really well. And at the same time, I started. I mean, do you want me to go on, or is that enough as an introduction?
Oh, no, it's just, this is all lovely. I mean, you are.
Okay. So
learning a lot
at the
about
same time as I was starting with the Cartoon Network and all that, I auditioned for Steven Spielberg, and I was cast in Saving Private Ryan. So I had quickly a sort of choice of career to make between being on screen and doing this kind of on-screen acting work, or really concentrating on my voice career. And I met a lot of lovely people that during the shoot, and one in particular who explained to me that sort of going into filming and that kind of work was the end of my privacy. It was the end of me being able to sort of be who I was without bothering. And then I was working on Sharp, and I met Sean Bean, and Sean Bean told me pretty much the same thing. We became friends over the 2 months that I was working on Sharp. And he said, it's terrible. I can't go to the pub. I can't go to the supermarket. And that started to really sort of ring alarm bells, because I was a young gay man living in London. I liked going to clubs. I liked living my life. I liked to experience things. And I could easily see a path in my career where I would become noticeable, and I would suddenly find myself a headline of a tabloid. Because I enjoyed my privacy, and I enjoyed being able to discover life in London. And so I made almost a conscious choice to limit the amount of time that I would spend on screen so that I could remain completely anonymous. I was the disembodied voice of the characters that I was performing. And it was absolutely lovely to do that. Now I've changed my mind. Now I no longer risk coming out of a gay club at 4 o'clock in the morning, completely pissed and being, but I mean, I will not do that anymore. Well, no, I mean, if you force me, I might, but I probably wouldn't. So now I'm safe. Now I could sort of, and I think I would quite enjoy the notoriety now. Whereas at the time it was a fairly scary thing. But so after that, after Saving Private Ryan, Spielberg, and all that, I only said yes really to the stuff that I could not say no to.
Great line, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it's worked. It's worked because I've worked on some amazing parts with some amazing directors, but yet I am not well known. I am an unknown, which means that basically I can pretty much do what I want. And then I auditioned for the Vatican, and I became one of the voices of the Vatican. So you had to be approved, and I was. And then I thought, oh well, there's something in there. Working for really, really big companies or really big corporations. So I approached the World Health, and I became one of the approved voices for the World Health. I speak a lot of languages. I speak 7 languages altogether. And that really helped also in being able to do these kinds of jobs. So the Red Cross, the United Nations, Reuters, I'm MTV approved, ITV approved, Reuters approved, BBC approved. I'm missing some. Uh, but anyway, so my life started to take a sort of my career as a voice actor started to really take off. Also because I everybody was telling me, oh, you need in voiceover, you need to specialize. You really need to specialize. What do you want to do? And I was like, I want to do everything. There's no, don't try to put me in a box, because the first thing I'll do is rip the fucking box. Excuse my French, but I will. I will not.
We love the F word, so it's totally fine.
Yeah. Well, in England, we use it slightly more liberally than I think you do in the States.
Yeah, there's other words too that you use there that we never use here. That's very common. One starts with a C.
Oh yeah, no, that one. But I will not use that one. I promise.
Yeah, they use that all the time there, and I keep looking at that, going, really?
What?
Guys, they call boys that.
Oh yeah. I think it's more I think it's lost its connection to its original meaning.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
We don't use it. We use fuck here.
So so that was the beginning of my career. But at the same time, I really wanted to do character work. Because that was what my training was. My training was in Grotowski. So I really wanted to do character work. And I found an opportunity with video games. So I started working for video games when video games started to speak. My first job in video games was Final Fantasy I. So what are we now? 53, 54? No, we're not. But and since then, basically, I haven't stopped. I think I've totaled over 500 characters in video games, from Metal Gear, Liquid Snake, to Gabe Logan in Siphon Filter, and one of the latest ones was Battlefield 2042, where I had over 42 hours of recording for this one character, which was a voice killer. Because Battlefield 2042, the clue is in the name. It really is a battlefield, so it's a lot of shouting. So I asked, as part of my contract, to only be working on Fridays, Friday afternoons, please, and preferably from 4 till 6, so that I would have the whole weekend to recover from the exertion of my character, Boris. And he spoke like this, and he was Russian, and everything was about Boris, and how everybody else is stupid. So that was the character of Boris. And since then, yes, I really haven't stopped. I'm lucky. I'm touch wood. I'm one of the busiest voiceovers I know.
Yeah, so. Yeah, you're very lucky. But I think also too, and you're so talented. But also too, when you've been around a minute. We start accumulating, because Mimi and I have been around a minute too. We start accumulating clients and people that love working with us, and people who keep coming back. And then you have, I won't say less to prove, but when you don't have anything to prove, there's a lot more freedom, I think.
Absolutely. I just don't. Well, it's not true. It's not that I don't care.
Oh, I understand.
But I do care. But it does not really matter. It's not going to destroy my life if I don't get a job. And that is also a massive freedom, because I can just go and talk to them as equals. And it was very funny. So I auditioned for a film not so long ago. And the casting director wanted me to come into London. And I said, well, I can't, because you'll have to come to my place. I'm not around. I can't. I've got so much going on. But if you really want me, you'll come. And he did. So I sat him down and I started asking him questions about the film. And he said at the end, well, I got the job. But he said at the end, he said, I felt like I've just been through an interview. And I said, well, you have. But it works. I mean, it might not work with everybody, and certainly wouldn't work with sort of, Hollywood releases. Although I think they might be intrigued by me. But yeah, and honestly, I did not have time to go into central London to do this. But the part was amazing. It was a a truffle hunter who is absolutely hopeless and lives in a cabin with his pig, and has probably a relation with the pig, we think. Um, but but eventually he finds this massive truffle that is about like 1.5 meters high, and takes it back to his cabin. But the truffle exerts a sort of a weird pressure on him, and the pig, Karine, gets jealous and runs out and gets run over by a truck. And it's very sad, but it's extremely funny. It's called À bout de truffe. And so it's but it's very funny, as well as being very tender and very so yeah, I'm glad I interviewed him, and he gave me the job.
Oh, it just sounds like such a interesting job. It sounds like such an interesting job. I think that's one of the wonderful things about being a voice actor, is being able to be different people and be different characters, and to be
Yeah.
one thing one day and another thing the next day. And I think that's one thing that Mimi and I both love about our own careers, is we get to do a lot of different things as well. So,
Mm.
and I think I don't know if it's an age thing or if it's an experience thing, but I think when you're someone like you, Stefan, and I can speak for me and Mimi as well, I think we like to have a lot of different things that we can do. It keeps us alive, it keeps us interested, keeps us
Yeah,
young, keeps us excited. And
absolutely.
yeah, it keeps us kind of a little bit on our toes, it's always kind of
Mm.
good not to be too comfortable, but not too comfortable.
Yeah.
Um, which I think gives us that keeps us youthful, even though
Mm.
our skin gets wrinkly. It keeps us youthful. Um,
I
but
use La Prairie, the skincare that you need.
I know someone's going to be doing my voicemail. Uh, I don't. Oh gosh. So I'll ask you something. I
Yeah.
know you have a very blessed career. And a lot of people in this room are, I'm sure, like mesmerized by your journey. But can you tell us, you don't have to name names, but can you tell us, like, was there ever a time where you went through a challenging time in this business, or something that you had to overcome in order to, I know you talked a little bit about your personal life, but just something in the
Mm.
business part that maybe was a little bit challenging that people in the room could learn from?
Um, in the business part of it, there was mm, I so in the personal life, I was bullied as a child, and that made me quite resilient against many things. But it made me also very short-tempered with people who are bullies. Anyone who tries to bully in front of me will find someone to answer to, because I will challenge it. I will not let it pass. And so not so long ago, a colleague, or well, someone who thinks that they're good at what they do, and claim it loud and clear, started to attack me online, because I put something, I think it was a post about having just landed a very big video game, but I could not talk about it really because it was NDA, but I was so chuffed about it that I couldn't help posting it. And then this person, who I will not name, but is a prime arsehole, sort of really attacked me and saying there's nothing as lame as saying I've got a big job, but it's an NDA. And sort of he went on several platforms to actually, without always referring to me, but sort of went to and on several voiceover platforms to attack me through that. So anybody who knew me would know who he was talking about. And I cannot let that pass. I will not let that pass. And actions have consequences. And so I'm a very nice guy up to the moment when you are being unfair to me. And then I can become the worst enemy. I will not allow anybody to think that they can get away with that kind of thing, because otherwise they'll never learn. They'll keep on doing the same stupid thing all their life if nobody is there to challenge them. And so I challenged, but I challenged in a very strong way because I contacted the agents and I explained to the agents what had happened and who did that and why they did that. And some agents decided to act upon it and some decided not to act upon it. I don't care. But at least they know who they're dealing with. And I think several of them, of the agents, came back later on to me and said, we thank you for that, because we don't want to work with people who are toxic. And I mean, when I approached the agents, you know, I had everything on a screen and I could see and I could show what that person had been doing. And it was not, and we are in an industry compared to the acting industry, which is very supportive, and that person was giving our industry a bad name. And I was not the only one he did it to. He was doing it. So when sort of limited talent meets massive ego, this is what you get. And I will not have it. I will simply not have it in my class, Mimi. I will not. I will not pull it. I will challenge it and I will get it out of the room.
Yeah, Mimi and I are very similar, of a very similar way of being. We're like, our birthdays are 2 days apart and we're very similar. And
yeah, I don't like disrespectful people.
No.
I had to make a call like that myself about 3 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it because Paulette and I have a very strong relationship with the agent. And I said, I would never do this if it wasn't for you, but you need to know this about this client and you better give him a heads up at 25 years old.
Yeah.
So, you know, we do it for the good.
Yeah.
You get another shot. Otherwise we could just say, screw it and never hire them again.
Yeah.
But, you know, people have to be told.
They do.
They do.
They do. They absolutely do. And actions have consequences.
Yes, they do.
Have consequences. And if you get to 45 or 50 like he is, and you still don't know that, then nobody's nobody's bothered to actually sort of challenge you, or you're basically rotten to the core. In both cases, you're better off without these people. But enough negativity.
Okay, it's not negativity. It's just
it's constructive.
You know, it's easy. Yeah. It's easy to talk about the good things. It's a little harder to talk about the more difficult subjects.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
You cannot be. People always say, "Oh, you're entertainment. Oh, that must be people must be horrible." I'm like, actually, 99% of all the clients I have are amazing.
Yeah.
There is 1% that I know will not be going to the lovely place upstairs. They will be going somewhere else, and I don't have to do anything about it. So I think, you know, it is challenging, and I think when you talked a little bit earlier about getting it, you know, choosing the work that you get to work on, the most important thing for me, I love doing great shows. I work on Yellowstone. I just did Blue Eyed Samurai for Netflix, which is an incredible series.
Nice.
And I've decided a number of years ago, about, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7, after I stopped working with the Weinstein Company, to not have any toxic clients. Like, I will not work with people who are abusive or mean or disrespectful. And I don't attract them. They don't come, they don't show up. And I think when you tell the universe and you make a commitment to yourself, things start changing because of your commitment to yourself. It is a commitment to yourself. You know?
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. And once again, the voiceover community is very giving, very, like, I'm working on an audio book at the moment. This is a new venture for me. But the guy said, we've got a casting for a sort of younger voice than yours. Would you know, we like the recommendation you did for the female voiceover. Would you have any male voiceover that you... And I happily recommended 3 of my friends. And yes, I could just go, oh, but they're competition. But they're not. They're not. I mean, a rising tide raises all boats. We are, I mean, and I get the points in kudos. These people now sort of know I'm in their court. And if there is a casting where they think I'm going to be good for, they'll put me forward. I've earned points with the studio, I've earned points with the engineer, and I've earned points with my friend. And I've earned karma. So I will not be listening like some people to the sound of music on a loop for 5,000 years down. You know, that will not be me. I'm
Oh my God. I got to work with Christopher Plummer once,
oh yeah.
directing him, and because he had to redo all of his lines because he said the F word every single time
Oh yes.
and was directing him, and he is in the director was in London, and Christopher was in like Canada, and I'm in LA, and I'm like, oh, that's fantastic, you know, oh, that's great, you know, and he goes, who's this lovely woman who keeps telling me I'm fantastic? I told him who I was, but you probably forgot. I
Yeah.
says, Paulette Lifton, but because, well, darling, I'm fucking fantastic, and don't you forget. Like, I would use this line forever. I was such a fan of his work and of who he was as a person, and how he honestly did not give an F.
Yeah.
And
It's very liberating.
so isn't it liberating?
It is absolutely liberating.
Liberating. Okay, so I just told you a little story. Mimi has like 5,000 stories. Like, Mimi's going to be writing a book soon. One day when we're offline, she can tell you her HW story. I can say his name right without saying the story. Henry Winkler story. So it's a great story. It's one of the best stories ever. So Stéphane, do you have like some iconic story of working with another actor that's like something that you love sharing?
Well, I think the best one I think would be, well, there's several, but one of them would be with Steven Spielberg. So we were shooting with Steven Spielberg, and so this is the scene in Saving Private Ryan when so Tom Hanks, Vin Diesel, and the group of the band of brothers are arriving in this sort of French village, and there's a bombed out house, and there's a father with his daughter, and he's trying to give the daughter to the Americans to save the daughter, and he gives the daughter to Vin Diesel, who takes the daughter towards Tom Hanks, but he gets shot by a sniper at that moment. And Stephen used to say that this was the moment when he wanted the people to cry for the first time in the film. So he gave us a very sort of, specific brief. And there was a young girl who played my daughter. She must have been about 8 or 9. And so one of the things about Steven Spielberg is that you eat lunch with him every day when you're shooting with him. So all the people who are in the scenes with him are having lunch with him. So of course I found myself with Tom Hanks, Vin Diesel. So I was sat right at the far end of the table and not really making much noise, and certainly not trying to be noticed. But the girl who played my daughter, she was sitting in front of Stephen, and she said, "I'm an actress." And Stephen looked at her and he said, no, you're not an actress. You're a child who acts. Stéphane is an actor. And I was like, oh my God. It was like, yeah. I mean, this is the moment when you think, oh, have I died and gone to heaven? Oh, do I see the pearly gates? Yeah, no, it was nice. It was a nice moment.
Wow. That's a fantastic story.
Yeah, and also, I mean, he obviously doesn't remember that he said that because he was using it only. But the fact that Steven Spielberg said of me, Stéphane, that is an actor. So I've got it tattooed across my chest.
with like the net underneath it, Stephen.
Yeah, and a very, very bad picture of Stephen.
I think we all have those moments. I know Mimi won it, and I don't know if I know you don't know a lot about us. We told you a little bit about us before we started,
Yeah,
but Mimi
yeah,
won
yeah.
an ACE award for
Ooh.
acting. And who is the person that you beat? The one person that you told me about that's very iconic, Mimi.
I don't know. It's a bunch of old time actresses. Maureen O'Sullivan. There was a bunch of
Oh,
actresses.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, that were nominated. And then I played a German and had to speak German, which is a whole other subject of comedy. And
Was it a comedy?
seriously.
Was it a comedy or was it
No, it was very serious. It was very serious, which is even funny.
Oh my God.
No, but it was great. It was great. It was one of the greatest experiences. I shot it in Yugoslavia. The network did not want me. They didn't want to consider me. And I said no, because I was one of the producers. I said, I'm doing this role. And they were like absolutely hiding when I got the award.
Of course.
Because, you know, you just can't give up your dream, guys. You just got to go for it. Screw everybody. You got to do what you got to do. Got to do what you got to do.
That is that saying of success is the best revenge.
It is, Paulette. I was gleaming. I didn't know what to do for that because I went, you know, got to be supportive of people. Got to just keep giving.
Yeah.
For supporting. And as you know, Stéphane, it's everything. It's all about paying it forward. It
absolutely.
Really
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it is also my philosophy, and being funny.
Oh, humor is everything for me too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
humor.
I think I would probably sell my soul to be funny. But and sometimes
you have no soul then, because you're
very exactly. To be more funny then. No, I think it's one of the things. Sometimes I will ruin a perfectly good situation just because I cannot help throwing that little quip that will make the room laugh.
That's what I'm known for.
Oh, I'm a sucker for a laughter.
Me too. And when it's really bad and people are like really intense, I'll go.
Yeah, and this is the best moment when suddenly you surprise them with a And
it goes over well or not, but
and I hate people who take themselves too seriously.
Oh, please.
I mean, that's one of the things that I like about my career is that I think I've achieved quite a bit, but at the same time, I'll still be the first one to crack the joke, probably the most inappropriate joke, and I will be also the most humble in the room, because I believe it's important to sort of and to be nice. Like, for example, at the awards, I knew by the end of the evening every single person who worked backstage. I knew them by name, and I brought them drinks during the evening, tequila shots.
Of course.
Because they were working so hard and they were so good at what they were doing, and yet they were invisible. And I thought, okay, well, one of us has to sort of acknowledge a little the hard work that they were doing. And also, we're all in this together. It's not just one person and taking an award and said, no, it's a team. In order to make an award night go smoothly, it's a team. It's everybody. It's everybody. And one of my teachers used to say, if you really want to get the measure of someone, don't look at the way in which they talk to their superior or the way in which they talk to their equals. Look at the way in which they treat people who are below them. And that will give you the real measure of them. And if they're nice and friendly with the people who are bartending or serving them or whatever, then that is the true measure of someone.
That is true. And
there's also, way up.
There's also a great saying, who you meet on the way up might be who you meet on the way down.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I've worked with PAs who've become post supervisors. I've worked with huge post supervisors who ended up trying to get a job for me later,
Yeah.
who
I
like
mean,
who made me
look,
cry. Like they were so
look,
mean, like they made me cry.
look at Andrea Toyas. Andrea Toyas, now casting director for Blizzard, started as a secretary in a company. And I mean, it just goes to show it's that kind of trajectory. If you can't make turds shine. But if it, no, you can't really. I mean, you might buff them as much as you want, but
Glitter
no.
works.
Yeah, glitter perhaps,
Glitter could
glitter,
work.
but gold will shine eventually,
Mhm.
and that's what you want to look at. You want to sort of find the goal in every person that you meet. And on that note, and on that profound note, sometimes I do the voiceover of my own life. So I will talk to someone and I'll say, "He said," and then he continued.
I wanted to open it up just for a few questions, you guys. Just to see if you guys have anything you wanted to ask Stéphane directly that we haven't covered today. So if nothing else,
Practical advice, if you want. Yeah.
practical advice is always good. So I'm gonna ask you. Oh, Mimi.
Friso was raising his hand.
Do you have a question, Friso?
Yes. Well, first of all, very, very, very lovely to listen to you, Mr. Cornicard. And thank you for being here. I could probably listen to you all night. Which I probably should go.
It's not gonna happen.
No, I'm sorry. But also being the owner of a deep voice and basically only speaking 3 languages, unfortunately, I was just wondering, can you say a little bit about both the challenges and the opportunities for an international voice actor, a non-native speaker in the world?
So
and how has that been for you?
What languages do you speak?
German, Dutch, English, and a bit of Frisian, but that's such a small language.
And
and a little bit of French.
And your native language was
Dutch.
Dutch.
Yes.
Okay. Well, there's an amazing number of opportunities because if you market yourself well within those markets, and I'm sure you do, you can offer what is the non-geographically located English, i.e. that sort of, which works really, really well for multilingual, multinational companies. Like the number of companies that I work for who do not want a British accent, do not want American accent. They want a sort of, it's almost a transatlantic, but it's not quite American, it's not quite British, it's sort of halfway in between. In order for them to communicate with clients who are not from their countries, they don't want to be associated with any country. And that there is a massive market for that, as you probably know already. The other opportunity is to be able to offer the same 3 languages or the same languages, the same script in those languages. I did a job fairly recently for a company called Bully, which is a French beauty company. And they contacted me to do their online advertising in English with a French accent. And I said, yes, of course, I can speak with a French accent. It's no problem. I will do it for you. And I did. And then they came back and they said, oh, we want you to do the French, but we've seen that you also speak German. So could you do the German? I said, yeah, I can do the German, natürlich. And continued and did the 2 versions, French and German. And then they said, how's your Spanish? And I said, okay, well, yeah, no, I can do Spanish. And eventually I ended up doing Chinese, Japanese, Korean in those languages. So Japanese I'd been learning for about 2 years. Chinese I've been learning for about 5 years. So those 2. But Korean, I had never spoken a word of Korean in my entire life. But, and that is the beauty of what we do, with age and with practice, we develop an ear. And that ear has allowed me to actually, so I said, well, the first thing you'll need to send me is a native speaker speaking extremely slowly, speaking a second version, which is going to be slow, but not too slow, and then a third version, which is going to be normal speed. I want a transliteration, i.e., the script written in Roman alphabet, and I'll need half a day. And that's how I did it. Just did that.
Wow.
And then they came back to me and they said, "You sound a little bit too Korean. Can you ramp up the French?" Yes, sir.
Oh, fantastic.
So,
Yeah,
go on,
sorry.
go on.
Do you get all that work just through your agent in London, or do you have multiple agents
No,
all over the world?
I've got agents all over the world. I have probably about 25 agents altogether. And I say to all my friends, VO, I said, an agent is not just for Christmas. Do not pick them up and drop them afterwards. Just look after your agents. No, but seriously, I've been very lucky, and funnily enough, at Sovas, I probably found myself an agent in Dubai, and it's just a question of sort of making the right noise at the right time, and offering contacts yourself, and then saying, well, if I help you find an agent in London, would you help me find an agent in Dubai? Oh, yeah, of course. And so that's the way, business sort of grows. I would say there's also a big market. Are you a trained actor?
I have been an improv actor for 5 years, but I'm not a trained actor, no.
Okay. Well, I would
But I've
still
been on stage.
Okay, but I would still say that there's a massive market for video games, with the accents that you have and the languages that you have, and that's one that I would definitely tap, and try to grow that way. How do you get to do you practice your languages?
Well, basically by visiting Paulette at the moment.
Okay.
No, I live very close to Germany, of course, being Dutch, and I also have many German friends, so that's how I trained my German. My Dutch obviously doesn't need training. I have half of my family in the UK, so that seems to work, and that's how I sort of keep.
Et ton français, tu le pratiques comment ton français?
Un petit peu français, mais c'est très difficile pour moi de parler français.
Okay,
because
I think
if I read it, I can do it.
Okay, I think I would definitely look for agents in France, because there's a lack of German and Dutch actors in Paris, and nowadays, since the pandemic, you don't need to be there. I would definitely try to find, and there's a company called Ojo, ODJO, who is an agency based in Paris. And that goes for pretty much all of you. If you want to have representation in Paris, it's not a bad place to investigate. ODJO, Ojo.
I've noted it down. Yes.
Yeah, and she's lovely. You'll find them online, and she's really lovely. And she is probably one of the biggest roster of foreign voices in Paris. So she knows how to deal with foreign voices.
Thank you very much for all that very personal advice. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Very welcome indeed. This is what we do.
The Kernfeeding of your agents.
Yeah, genau.
Friso is actually a very wonderful voice actor. Arita.
Beautiful voice.
Oh, he's got a gorgeous voice, and he's a great guy to boot. Arita, I'm sorry, I said your name wrong. I'm sorry.
It's fine. Hi. First of all, thank you for making this happen, and Stéphane, thank you again. I mean, I love you. I've worked in some of your classes, and they're amazing. You have. So if you haven't taken any classes with Stéphane yet, you're really missing out. You should. You must. So my question was actually, do you have any classes planned anytime soon?
I had to pretty much postpone all my coaching and my mentoring until at least March. I just can't cope. That's the issue, because I've got since VO Atlanta last year, I've managed to get myself 2 agents in the States, and big ones, DPN and big ones. And so I also work a lot with China. So when I work with China, I'm up at 6 o'clock in the morning. And when I work with the US, I'm up until about 12 o'clock at night, which means that a lot of my coaching, which used to take place in the evening, is become very difficult. And I was not able to give my all. And if there's one thing I hate is coaching who just take your money and don't really give you I believe in coaching that pays for itself, i.e., if you spend so much with me, you should at least earn that much, at least, from the contacts that I'm going to give you and the advice that I'm going to give you. And if I feel that I can't do that, then I will postpone my classes, which is what I've done. And I've got a I've got another letter today of someone that I've said to no to, saying, "No, I'm so sorry, I can't. And she said, "I'm willing to wait. I'm willing to wait 6 months." And I said, "Okay, I'll put your name on a waiting list." And she's lovely, and I love working with her. But I do not want to become a coach. I am first and foremost an actor and a director. That is what I do. That is what I love doing. Coaching in my free time, happy to do it. And I think I can give good advice, and I've got methods to make things work, but it cannot become my primary focus. Because if it does, I'll die inside. And I don't want to die inside.
Well,
No, we wouldn't want that either.
No.
coaching is such a giving. It's such a giving. It takes a lot of energy, and it's a very giving. And also, I'm sure you sound like you're exactly the same as us. We invest a lot in people, and so if you can't be of service, then that is the exact correct thing to do. And and
also, I think that, horses for courses. Some people are very good at organizing things. I am not necessarily the best one at organizing, managing. I mean, I get fantastic ideas. And then what I need is a PA to actually do all that, do all the ideas that I have.
You just need me and Mimi.
Yes, exactly.
I need you.
I need you, Paulette. But no. So I some things come easy to me, but some don't. And the organizing, for example, of coaching and VO, things like that, I just go, it's just, I'd rather sort of be funny in front of the mic, which is what I do. But watch this space. I may say something completely different in 3 months, where all my work has dried up, and I'm like, I need students. I need students. No, well, hopefully not, but
I have a feeling that's not what's going to happen.
No, I think it's in the cards for you.
No, I think winning Silver's Outstanding Body of Work for the 2nd year running. The first time may have been a fluke. The second time has perhaps confirmed to my own, I've got a imposter syndrome. My imposter syndrome is better looking than I am. He's slightly taller. He doesn't have as many lines, and he always sits in the front row when I'm performing and sort of looks at me going, And he was there at the awards. He was sitting in the front row, slightly more debonair than I am, sort of slightly slicker. His shirt was better ironed, and he was looking at me going, "What are you doing the Tarzan yell in this?" Oh, yes. So as my acceptance speech for the Silvers Outstanding Body of Work Best Voiceover, I did the yell of Tarzan as my thank you speech. The reason being is that when I was a child, when I was 6 or 7, 8, 9, 10, I was bullied, severely bullied. And I used to pray that Tarzan would come and get me out of school, and that one day he would appear and he'd stay and he'd sort of take me away, and I could sort of just disappear in the horizon with him. And of course, he never came. And then one day I sort of had to face all the bullies myself. And that day I realized that sometimes you have to be your own Tarzan. And so that was my speech the first year. And then I ended up with the Tarzan yell. And of course, this year, because most people who were there last year were probably there this year. So I just went up and I did, and then went off. Which
I thought that was quite unique. I have to tell you. I
think it must be the first time, but I have already my speech prepared for next year. A friend of mine has said, you should do your thank you speech in chicken. And I think that might be what I do. If I enter and if I win next year, I'll do my speech in chicken language and I'll simultaneously translate into English what I'm saying, which I think would be a good character exercise.
I once had to try to voice cast someone who spoke pigeon, who could be a pigeon and speak words with pigeon sounds and you'd understand what the pigeon, and there's actually a guy in Florida that specializes in how to speak pigeon.
Is there?
Yes.
Oh my God, I must meet that person.
Lovely guy. He did not get the part because we decided it was Weinstein Company. Harvey decided to change. He changed his mind about the pigeon. Trace, do you have a question? Oh, you have to unmute yourself, my darling.
Right. Okay. So after all of this wonderful conversation, my question may be a little redundant and unimaginative, but anyway, I'm going to ask it. So, because I'm looking for a really good mic. I have this old one, and I know it's not really good. And I've so far heard of the Sennheiser and Neumann, and they're like, $1,000, etc. So I wanted to ask your advice in regards to maybe a good mic to get that's not maybe 1,000 yet.
The Neumann TLM 103 and 102, I think, are two very, very good mics, and they will not break the bank. So Neumann TLM 103, 102, I think you can get them in the region of about $500. And they're good mics. They're very good mics. Otherwise, you can get a Bose NT2A, and Bose NT2A is very, very good. Mostly if, like you've got a very warm sound, and I would recommend the Bose NT2A. It's a lovely mic, and it's not too expensive either. It will not break the bank. And a lot of voice actors become quite concerned and quite sort of obsessed with mics, and it's one of the things that we tend to start investing in the latest kit, and we become almost nerdy with our sort of collections. And sometimes, if you go into the nerdy corner at VO conferences, you will hear voice actors talking about this mic or that mic and that mic, but you can only use one mic at a time. So
I just worked with Frank Welker, and I have to record him in studio, and I'm like, what? Because he did one at home. I said, what mic did you use? He just used an NT1.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you sound great. So
I mean, I think for most of us, the quality of the mic largely outweighs the use that we're going to make of that voice. I.e., we don't need to have the latest and the best equipment, because the difference between a very, very good mic, i.e. One of the most expensive Neumann, and a Neumann NT2A will not be, a Bose NT2A will not be audible to our ears. So don't break the bank. Just go for something that sounds nice to you. I wish there was a shop where you can go and listen to what you sound like. If
you're in LA, there's audio rents. I've been using them for a long time when I used to have multiple people coming in, and you can rent mics. Like you rent it on a Friday and return it on a Monday. You could like
Oh,
talk
nice.
call the guys, ask them what they recommend, take them home, try them out, record the same material, and see what sounds good for your voice.
Nice.
What's the name of this place? Audio something?
Audio rents. Audio rents.
Audio
If you're going to
rent.
spend more than $500, like in London, you know, LA would have something, New York would have something, San Francisco, the big cities.
Yeah.
But a lot of them do, like Vegas and, you know, where I don't know where you guys are, everybody's located, but
Well, okay. So, excuse me, but Stéphane, listen, somebody in the chat said you might mean the road.
Yes,
road?
what did I say?
You said
Road. Oh, it's
Rosé.
road. What did I? Oh, God. It's the alcohol. I should not have started drinking already.
mine is
So,
my memory's good. So
I blame it on the gin.
blame it on the alcohol. NT2A.
Yeah, Road NT2A.
Okay.
The one thing I would say is anybody who is interested in working in video games or animation,
Yes.
what we do in video games and animation is slightly counterproductive because we move a lot. And yet, if we've got a static mic like one of these, it's very difficult to actually be in character, move, and remain exactly that far from your microphone.
Right.
So, yes. So I would say invest in one of those microphones that you put under a little hat. Sennheiser does some amazing ones. And ever since I started doing my auditions with them, because most video games, they want you to go into the booth, into a studio. But for auditions, it really frees you because it means that you can physicalize the character that you're going to be. And video games are very, very physical. I mean, if you do it well, and if you do a 2-hour session on a video game, you should be exhausted. There's no two ways about it. It's as a friend of mine, Gertrude Thoma, who is an amazing voice talent, German, and she said that video games are to voiceover what opera is to theater.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, it's bigger, it's bolder, and it's so. One thing I would say, if you want to do video games or animation, is invest in a sort of a lapel mic, or one of those what do you call them, the sticky ones?
Why can't I think of it off the top of
No, I can't think of it either. Welcome.
A lavalier?
Lavalier.
That's a lavalier.
Lovely. I've heard of those. Yes.
Now the thing is, you have to be careful sometimes because it makes a noise if you don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the quick other question is: so in getting a mic, that's wonderful, but also I like because it's for traveling. When you're traveling and you're going to stay in different locations for a little while, all of these mics would actually be
too bulky. And you don't want to sort of move them and travel with them too much. I mean, mics like that need to remain and do not move.
Still, they take on
There's one, and I can't remember for the life of me, which is very cheap. It comes into a little package. Oh, it's audible.
Is it a Yeti?
No.
Oh, I had a Yeti. I gave it away.
For traveling, though.
I had a Yeti. I gave it away.
It
was too big. It was too hairy. I'm sorry.
Too hairy.
It was too hairy.
I want to be respectful of Stéphane's time. So I'm gonna.
Thank you so much. All right.
You're very welcome. Pleasure.
I'd like to be respectful and not take too much of his time. So, but Trace, get back to me and I'll find you something for you for traveling. Okay. And
sweet. Okay. Thank you so much. Yes, please.
Okay.
I need it next year.
Yeah, we had like a huge mic discussion. Everybody's like, so thank you so much, Stéphane, for being here. We honestly all could listen to you forever. And
I'd love to, if I've got 5 minutes.
You've got as many
Right.
minutes as you want.
Okay. Then, in order that everybody has got to take out, that they can implement, and something that is sort of worth practicing, I would like to introduce the layering system in acting. The layering system is a way of approaching a script which works for pretty much every script available. One of the issues that I had when I was a young actor and still nowadays was that, I mean, Meisner is all very well, but if you're on your own in the booth, you can't use Meisner. It's very difficult to use Meisner. Stanislavski is all very good, but if you're 20-something and you've never known loss, how can you reproduce loss? So eventually I sort of came up with my own method, which is basically a melting pot of all those methods. But I thought, how do you organize that? And so if we were to look at any script, be it a commercial or a character or anything like that, the first layer has to be the layer of understanding of the script. Therefore, do not put anything untowards into it. Do not jump into performance, or do not jump into making decisions. Allow the script to be completely neutral, and allow the script to speak to you as opposed to you speaking the script. And then on the second layer, you're still in the cognitive level. And so you can start looking at, for example, repetitions, the length of the sentences, or what verbs are being used, what linguistic fields are being used. If I say, for example, I am afflicted by this curious condition that makes me write everything down, I am, of course, describing what it is like to be a writer, but at the same time, the language that I'm using, the semantic fields that I'm using, are the semantic fields of medicine, of disease. I am afflicted by a condition which forces me. And therefore, when you look at this level, then it starts to speak to you. It starts to speak to you in other ways. The layering system is almost like grouting, i.e., you put a layer of grout and you see what sticks. So the next layers are the layers that are to do with intentions. So you do one pass, one read with just that. What is the intention of my character? The next one can be, where am I in position compared to the person that I'm speaking to? And that is valid for every script that you have. The third one could be, what have I done just before? The fourth one will be, am I doing something else while I'm talking to this person, or am I completely intent on speaking to them? And so you can build layers like this in order to build complexity and nuances in the scripts that you do. There are more and more and more levels, of course, but the final layers are what I call the social layers. They're what we want to project, i.e., a woman in the 19th century who was angry would not have acted in the same way as a woman who is angry in the 20th century, because women were not supposed to show anger. Women were supposed to be composed, and therefore the social layer are the final layers of this technique. And so this is just a very small introduction to the layering system, which I think is absolutely worth investigating, because every read that you do is really focused on one aspect of that script and nothing else. But it builds, and it builds like it's a layer of cake. And basically the thicker the layer, the more complex and more interesting the character will be.
Yeah, and performances change by so many different things that you bring into it. Like, it's different if you're like yelling across a room or like this close, if you're physically
Absolutely.
like touching them, or if you're pushing them. There's so many things you can add, and so many layers that change your performance. And a lot of people are like, well, I have to do a second take on something. I can't figure out what to do. I'm like, how can you not?
Oh my God, there's so many things that you can do. I mean, one of the beauties, I think, of having a black studio is that you can actually close your eyes and see where you are. Like, for example, I'm on the moons of Gallifrey, and I can see as far as the eye can see the twirls of the wind, and I'm there. I am so there. Visualization is very important. I think the advantage of using a layering system is that it allows you to be organized with how you approach the script and how you sort of one by one, you sort of tick all the boxes of what you need to do. Yes. This is what I teach, by the way. This is my,
I figured that out.
yeah, this is my go-to in terms of techniques.
Yeah, it all makes sense. This is what we do as well. So I think we're all on this same great path of trying to help people with their careers and their acting, because people get stuck too. And I think
Absolutely.
what works for some people also doesn't work for others. Mimi has this thing, and I do it as well, where you warm up a little bit before you start for us. Or what can you add at the beginning that's going to take you through the entire scene? Because a lot of times people drop in the middle, like they finally find the character as they're going, and then they have to start over
Exactly.
again.
Yeah. And they ramp up through the speech as opposed to being already at that level. That's why emotes are very important, because if you start your speech or each sentence with an emote, then you're already, like if I start with, oh, he is so annoying, that has put me immediately in that position. And then I don't need to ramp on the phrase. I'm already in that at that level. Yeah, I think we're going to work together at some stage.
Amy does that all the time, so she is very much.
Does she? Do you, Mimi?
Mimi,
do you want
are
to talk to the
attention?
group about?
Unmute yourself.
They know. I'm a big believer in idiosyncratic behavior. So, especially when we're auditioning. So, yeah. I totally am on your page. Layering is everything. Paulette will tell you. You don't layer, especially in voiceover, you're not going to get the audience that you want ultimately, because we're creating that story for them through sound. So, it's very important we have all those different nuances that we present, Sorry, this is
Spielberg
spam.
calling. That's Spielberg's ring. Spielberg.
That's Spielberg's ring.
Have
Stephen, I'm sorry, I'm busy.
It's
No, sorry,
Spielberg
no.
spam.
No, you're calling too often. There are boundaries, Stephen. God.
Oh my God. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Today. And I am can't wait to post this. You had such wonderful tips and wonderful stories, and
Thank you very much.
I am so glad to have met you and to learn all these wonderful things about you. And I'm gonna have to start a Stéphane Cornicard fan club, unless you already have one.
I apparently I do. Apparently,
oh gosh,
because several people have said I'm the president of your fan club, so there must be one somewhere.
there is one.
Well, thank you very much for what you do, and I think that's one of the things that was missing when I was learning how to be a voiceover, is that I had to learn on the job,
right?
And there was no one to actually say, you don't read the whole script, or there was no one to say how in a promo you're supposed to avoid all the sound bites and navigate that. Or pretty much everything I had to learn from either mistakes or from the sound engineer or directors who were there. So it's a good thing that there is now a learning environment, which allows us to grow.
Yes, I totally, yes. I would have
with people that are in the trenches. So we actually
absolutely
all work doing this. So you get a lot of...
and yes, I am absolutely available for your next casting.
Yes,
I figured that.
I am so there.
We figured that.
In fact, I've already sent you the script, and so yeah, just come back with feedback.
Project, that's great. You have a job now, Mimi. Look at that. Got out of this thing today. I want to thank you, and again, I put in the chat our promo in for basically in honor of you, chocolate. So
thank you,
Stéphane, chocolate, voice like chocolate, right? So Thank you guys for being here. I don't think we're going to be here next week because of Christmas, but we'll be posting some really great stuff. And I just wanted to again say thank you. And I will want to wish all of you a wonderful holiday. Be
Oh yes.
safe.
Oh.
And ho ho ho. Mimi,
all of you.
before we close? You want to say anything before we close?
Me?
Yes, you.
Happy.
Happy.
And looking forward to 2000. Oh, what is it? 2024.
Yeah, 2024.
I often forget. Yes. Oh,
That's
my
the
dear.
one. I've just learned to write 2023, and
I
we're
know,
all
me too.
changing.
Me too. It's going to be a bitch. Anyway.
Guys.
Lots of love, and thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you so
Take
much.
care. You're
So
very
much for
welcome.
sure.
Toodaloo.